and welcome to Two Tired Teachers.
We're coming at you from Palo Dura Canyon, the second largest canyon in the United States, sometimes called the Grand Canyon of Texas.
And this is a Texas state park, and our experience has been that it is the hardest to get reservations in.
It is now March, the first week in March, and we got these reservations in the first week of January, and there were only about 3 sites left that they were letting people camp in.
We had actually tried to get in here last year, and this is one of those parks, honestly, that you're going to want to be in March or April, possibly May.
Or September, October, November.
The nights have gotten down. We've been below freezing at night, and yet yesterday I think we were up to around 75.
Yes.
And so there's a really wide temperature range in this part of Texas.
So bring a lot of clothes.
Bring all the clothes you have. But that's the thing, is once that sun goes down, the temperature will drop. And that's not true in all parts of Texas. No. And so you need to be prepared for that. But this is about as big as a tree's going to get around here, and that's really not enough to give shade for your RV or tent. So you don't want to be here in the middle of the summer.
And we have a cousin who lives in Amarillo, and he and his wife came out yesterday and the day before, and they said in the summer, and I don't remember what month, there were tarantulas everywhere. I'm not a huge fan.
But the park is massive, and much of it consists of over 27,000 acres. And there are over 35 miles of trails throughout this park. And that's one of the big draws here, are the trails.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to mention that I'm going to show you the trail map. And there is one trail that is designated for mountain bikes only. And there's an easy, medium, or difficult loop. Then these hiking trails, there are over 35 miles of hiking trails that are, quote, designated, but then there are just little offshoots and stuff that go along with that. But it is amazing.
If you've watched our videos before, you know that I'm terribly clumsy and Sharon's much more sure-footed. She and the cousins climbed up to a little cave.
We'd seen from the road, and so they said they hike up there, and said, well, let's go. And I will tell you that in the middle of the afternoon, it was like at least 20 degrees cooler in that cave. It was really a neat place to go.
It was a little cave.
Another thing we want to mention here is that you're camping down in the floor of the canyon. And so as you're coming in, the first there's about 1.5 miles. This is a CCC park, and it's amazing. We're going to talk about that.
I want to talk about that.
But the first 1.5 miles will give you a time lapse here. It's a 10% grade, and there's about 1.5 miles, and you're dropping. That end of the canyon, I'm not sure. The canyon is 600 to 800 feet deep. So it's not long. It's not, but I do want to let you know there is a steep grade to that, and so just taking it in a lower gear, you're fine. But you are camping in the floor of the canyon.
Okay, this is a CCC park, and we were driving around trying to get used to what the park was, what was where, and everything. And Sharon said, "Cow cabins, let's go." It's the most unique cabins we've seen in Texas state parks. They are beautiful. They are built right into the scenery. I mean, they're all stone.
They're beautiful. It's, to me, this, for the CCC parks that we've seen in Texas, this one, they did the most exquisite job of making those CCC buildings, and there's a museum up here that's a CCC building
that was built in 1934.
They've made these buildings a part of the landscape.
Yes.
and they've complemented the nature that's here with those CCC buildings.
And the one that amazed me the most, I think Sharon too, we were driving along and saw what looked like they all have fireplaces and chimneys, and it just looked like a fireplace. I said, Sharon,
For the cabin,
what
yeah.
is it? And she said, there's a cabin down there somewhere. We drove around and Sharon climbed. Well,
just walked
as you
down there,
walk
yeah.
Down,
It's unique.
it's wonderful.
And now, there are some modern things in the park, and we're going to talk about the campgrounds in a minute, but there is a store where you can get sandwiches, etc., like that. There's a lodge that can have a large group gathering.
I don't know. Last year, the Play Texas was not done because of COVID. I don't know whether it'll be on this year or not.
And our cousins that live in Amarillo said they didn't know if it was going to be
Yeah.
or not. But if it's a play about Texas, it's called Texas. But it is a unique thing that's here in the park. The amphitheater is actually fairly large. But once again, even if you're going to that play, best I remember, we went in the summer, and our aunt had lived in Amarillo, had us bring coats and blankets because the temperature drops.
Yes.
And even in the summer, it gets cool at night. But there are some modern buildings as well. There are some day use areas. And then there are just some pull-offs where people
Yes.
access various...
Where you can.
It's not
do
really a trailhead,
scenery.
but you can just go out and hike and hit the trail right there. This
There's
is...
Scenic Overlooks. That's what I was trying to think.
And there are some scenic maybe underlooks, 'cause you're looking
Yes.
up at the walls of the canyon. But it is absolutely gorgeous.
And when the sun hits it, time of day makes all the difference here, because sometimes the reds are so vivid, and other
the
times
whites.
it's the yellows or the browns or it's very nice.
I'm thrilled that we were able to get in and
I am
come
too.
here. But the campgrounds, we found out one of the reasons it was so difficult to get a site is because right now, 2 of their camping loops that are water and electric, they're not using them.
open.
They're not open, and yet we know for a fact there's a demand. And so part of that may be, and this is just speculation on my part, is that it's perhaps the parks are supposed to be at 75% capacity, and that's their way to limit it. I don't know. But we are in the Juniper.
And it is there's
water and electric.
one more, some kind of berry or something, one down. It's right here at Juniper. But this is about as far as you can go in the canyon.
Yeah, there is one that's on down there. This loop you pull in, and there's Juniper and some other campground. The other campground that's here is closed. Restrooms. And by the way, we're going to be showing a lot
Yes.
of different campgrounds, and there are some tent campgrounds, tent-only sites. And the tent-only sites that we saw, this is pretty common in Texas state parks. Those are tent-only. They
Yes.
are not designed for any size RV, even a pop-up trailer. They're not designed for those. But the restroom here is one of the nicest we've seen.
Yes.
It is.
And I know this sounds stupid, but it has had soap. Every time I've been in, it has one of the great Excel blowers to dry your hands. It's immaculate. It showers and the facilities.
And it's recently been redone. We'll get a picture of it. It's right across the road here. But there is also, during some seasons, because it's closed for
Yes.
winter, but there's a dishwashing
Yes.
station there. And so this may be one of the nicest restrooms in the area, because we've seen people pull in there, and they were in there long enough to take
Yes.
showers and stuff.
Yes.
But anyway, this is, like I said, I am thrilled that we were able to get in here, and we
Yes.
talked about whether or not we wanted to come the first, back in January before we had that massive freeze in February. If we really wanted to come the first week in March, wondering how cool it was going to be. Honestly, I think the temperatures have been pretty well perfect. I mean, the highs in
Yeah.
the lower to mid 70s during the day. It's been amazing. And there is a bird blind. We didn't go
Yes.
and see that. Some people were telling us about it, that it's well fed, and there's a water feature and things where they have a lot of birds. But here in our campsite, there's a roadrunner that lives right around here, and so we've seen him every day. And yesterday, when we were sitting out visiting with our cousins, he just jumped up on a rock and started sharpening his beak. And great
Oddly
time.
enough, I saw a female cardinal.
And
Day
yeah,
before.
and we've heard a lot of different birds. But one morning when I got up, it was a earlier morning. Theo and I were out at 7-ish, and I kept hearing. I thought it was a yelping. I wasn't sure, and I thought it could be a bird. It was that kind of a big flock of birds or something, but a yapping. The park host had stopped by the night before and told me that they'd seen more coyotes this year than in the first 2 months of this year than they did in the last 5 months of last year. And so I was thinking, are those coyotes yapping? And it's a canyon, so it sounds like it's on every wall
They're
of the canyon.
surrounding you.
And literally just over past the restroom, I saw a coyote go running down the road. So Theo and I didn't walk very far. But there are coyotes supposedly somewhere in the park. There are
There are ringtail cats, there are bobcats, there are raccoons.
there are various types of
mule deer.
mule deer and white-tailed deer. And one time when I was here, I saw a lot of roadrunners and I saw a lot of jackrabbits. Haven't seen them this time, but jackrabbits and cottontails. And I thought there was like long pronghorn sheep or
Yes, there's pronghorns. Yeah.
And so we haven't seen those, but they are indigenous to the park. And so we have just been this. And by the way, I do want to say the other thing is, if you have people that are meeting you, because we did, this is a very popular park.
Yes.
And on weekends or holidays, day use will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pulled in on a Monday, they had a sign out saying all of the day use passes were gone. And so we texted our cousins and said, you may want to go online and go on and reserve a day use pass for tomorrow, because this is one of the most
Yes.
popular day use parks. It's not far from Amarillo, and there's a separate little town of Canyon. And that town of Canyon it's 8 miles from here to the highway, and I think Canyon is another 3 or so
Yeah.
past that.
Yeah.
So not that far, but they've got Walmart, grocery stores, gas stations, anything you would want. But it's a very popular day
Yes.
use. And I guess maybe because it is the second largest canyon in the U.S., I've seen
Yes.
a lot of out-of-state tags at this park. And coming through, let's face it, this is not that far from Amarillo, and so there's 40 that goes through Amarillo,
Yes.
and this would be a nice convenient stop
Yes.
as well. But anyway, we have loved our time here, and we've had sunshine, beautiful skies, except for today.
And today it's been spitting rain. It
Yeah,
hasn't really rained.
We've gotten a few little showers, and that is something that they say is, there are several places. This is a canyon. There's several little bridges, and it says this may flood. And so if we get a heavy rain, we will take it easy as we are getting on the road tomorrow and make sure that we're safe to go through any of those. But this is one of our cousins, we were telling them, it's almost like any campground you're in, there are going to be things that are unique and spectacular.
Yes.
And this has just been
Yes.
gorgeous. It's a canyon. It's different than anywhere we've stayed before. And we have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, at Caprock Canyon, you stay on top of the canyon and you can hike or bike or drive.
Or there's a road,
to
yeah,
the
that goes-
bottom. But this one, you're at the bottom.
Yeah, and so it's a different perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. We did stay at Caprock, but the view there was, we weren't in the canyon looking at it. We were at a campground, up on the top. So, and just kind of a heads up, that is going to be our next stop. We've already made a video about the park, but
Yes.
our hope is that this Caprock's not that far from here. It's kind of, but we're hoping to be able to get out and ride that trailway some. And now that we have our rads, and make a video of the trailway. So we're looking forward to that and have thoroughly enjoyed our stay here.
We highly recommend Palo Dura Canyon.
But make those reservations
Early.
early. It's worth making the reservations and planning the trip to get to stay here. Hope you've enjoyed our look at Palo Dura Canyon State Park. Thanks for watching Two Tired Teachers.